We are in a time of national division, spiritually, one could say. Is it true that your third day on the job as chaplain of U.S. House of Representatives was January 6th, 2021?
You have that right. That was my third day on the job.
Third day on the job. Could you share, from the perspective of someone who provided spiritual care to Capitol Police and to our legislators in that context, how do you see and have hope for the spirit of our country and healing our divisions?
I have to say that the answer to that question starts 200 years before me, inasmuch as our country was founded on acrimony. We did not start off holding hands and singing Kumbaya. And in fact, in 1774, before the Constitution, before the Declaration of Independence, our representatives in Philadelphia were having a hard time getting along. And it took one of the representatives there in Philadelphia to say, we're probably best off if we start our days with prayer. Now, that's a whole story in itself, and it really has a remarkable history to it. But I will say then that when the Constitution was established in 1789, in May of 1789, the House, since 1789, the House has been opened every legislative day in prayer. The Senate since the last week in April of 1789. So for over 235 years, both of our legislative chambers have been opened in prayer. I share that because it has nothing to do with me. It really has nothing to do with being in 2021 or 2024. We have a history of not getting along. It might be slightly related to being human. I'll leave you to your own theological exploration there. But that being said, when I took the job, now almost 4 years ago, it occurred to me that my responsibility, though many thought it was not to get everybody on the same sheet of music. It wasn't to bring unity into the house. It wasn't to bring peace into the room as we as humans understand peace. But it's really to take the opportunity to appeal on their behalf, on those legislators' behalf, to the divine. And as chaplain of the House, that is my main responsibility. So to open the House in prayer, I take that responsibility incredibly seriously, acknowledging that we're not all of the same faith tradition. We're certainly not of the same political bent. I often say they don't call them representatives for nothing. There are 435 very different people who serve our country here in this building, and another 100 on the other side of the building in the Senate. And they represent a whole host of beliefs, values, perspectives, opinions, faith traditions, all of these things. And my responsibility is somehow to be able to speak on their behalf. So whether it was January 6th or whether it is today, I take that responsibility the same way. Now, on that third day, obviously, there was a great deal of contention going out. There was rumors that there were things that were going to be taking place that day when the votes came forward. And I had already, if you will, done my job for the day. I had already opened officially the House in prayer. Some would say it was a prophetic prayer, because I did speak to this idea of acrimony and the division in our country. And if you can go back into the records, and on January 6th, the legislative prayer speaks to that.
Wow.
But when the Electoral College votes were being counted, and it was a joint session, so both Senate and the House were there, it was within minutes we realized that we were going to have some challenges with certain states. And when that happened, the Senate left the room, and the House members were left in the House chambers to debate those particular states that were in contention. It was within minutes of that second session, if you will, that divided part of the session, that we were told by the Capitol Police that there had been an incursion into the building, and that they, for our safety, were asking us to be prepared to evacuate the room, to put on breathing devices, and within seconds, there was a great deal of melee in the chambers. I was up in the center of the congregation, if you will, kind of like where I like to sit when I go to church, sort of on the aisle, basically in the middle so I can get a good picture of the pulpit. So I was there, but one of the clerks down on the floor in what they call the well, down closer to the rostrum, looked up at me and pointed his finger at me and waved me down and put his hands together in prayer, and as if to say, Chaplain, come down here and get up on the rostrum and start praying. Totally out of order. I mean, it's not in the congressional record. You'll see nothing about this in the congressional record, but it was just somebody appealing to me. I wear a collar here because I want to be identified as the chaplain. Yeah. It's not a very Presbyterian thing to do, but it's an identifier, and it's important at times like these. And so, I did. Now it was extemporaneous. I don't know that anybody really heard what I said, other than the poor soul who was actually recording it, should there ever be an investigation on January 6th.
Should that ever happen.
Should that ever happen. But I will tell you that the two responses that have come back to me since then from members were, they thought either, okay, it's all right, the chaplain's praying, God is in the room. Or the other reaction was, oh my God, this is like the Titanic. The chaplain is praying and the ship is going down.